Hi everyone, thanks for coming on today. I'm here to talk about commercial design, which I suppose just giving a small bit of my own history, started out in the domestic market. And I suppose that's kind of where you have to start really to be able to bring it to the bigger projects and know like how organized you need to be for these sort of things. So I'm going to give you like a broad kind of spectrum view at commercial design because there is a lot to it. So I hope I've picked subjects that you're actually interested in listening to today. But if there's any questions, please feel free just to stop me, but I'll dive right in. Okay, so commercial design, what are the things that we need to consider first? The most important things really are, what is my business and who is my customer? Once you know those things, everything else gets so much easier beyond that point. Because if you know your customer, you know what they're looking for, you know their comfort level, you know what they want to be surrounded by. When you have all of those things in place, that's where money exchanges, or you sell desks, or you do all these things when people come into a space and they're actually comfortable. So all the things that we need to consider. So a lot of people are gone away from bricks and mortar, and more people are gone back to bricks and mortar, depending on the type of business that they're owning these days. But I suppose a lot of us will look at spaces, but what are the things that we should consider when we're looking for new spaces? So location is really important. So for any business, they need to be in the right location for their customer, for who they're trying to serve, the people that they're trying to supply a service to. So we need to look at the architecture of the building as well. The architecture of the building is important. Again, does it represent your customer and what they would expect when they see your brand or your shop? The window space, are you selling a product that needs full window displays, or is it something that you can be hidden from and you want to stay off the beaten track a little bit? Visibility. So this will kind of tie back into signage in a little while, but making sure that you are visible at all times. When you're doing signage, is it a protruding sign so you can see it when you're walking along somewhere like the Mall or Patrick Street? Making sure that you have the visibility. So taking all of those things into consideration before you actually commit to having a bricks and mortar building. So the next thing then is a little bit more complicated. There's a few little buzzwords and things like that I'll go through with you. So a POS is a point of sale. So we all know this from when we go into the likes of Pennies or Super Values or Tesco's or whatever, and there's always, you've got your products all lined up at the counter, which would be like your likes of your wrapping paper, lip glosses, all of those kind of things. They're your point of sales really. Then you've got the end of the line. So more often than not, the likes of the big supermarket chains and all that kind of thing will pay extra to actually be at the end of a line so that their product is at eye level. There's nothing on either side of it, and they have a full line of product to promote. And then you've got obviously your window displays. So again, it depends on what you're selling. Who needs to see it? Do you need to be doing window displays? Are there something that you've become known for, like for your Christmas windows? I know a lot of people will invest heavily into their shop windows. They'll invest into all their Christmas displays, Halloween displays, all of that kind of stuff. Then you've got the shop front itself. What condition is it in? Do we need to look at what kind of a signage is actually going to work there? Again, against the architecture of the building, have we taken all of those things into consideration? Then we've got what we call is a power wall. So more often than not, when people walk into a shop, they'll turn right. So if you can envision yourself walking into a shop, you've probably turned right. If you're not, that's okay. But what we usually put in a place of the power wall is somewhere where it's full of impact. So we're getting into those colors, shapes, so that we're leading people around the shop. And this is the first kind of introduction where you want people to go, wow, and you want to raise their heartbeat and you want them to get a little bit excited about walking into the shop. So we've got speed bumps. Speed bumps are also kind of more of a retail. But again, we put these in place so that if people are, if you've got your shop and it's just all lined up, that these actually slow people down, they have to walk around and they have to navigate the shop. So you're actually exposing them to more product than they had initially anticipated when they first came into the shop, which is good from an employer's point of view. So waiting areas, then this would be the likes of, you could be in a doctor's surgery, accountant's office. You might have a kitchen then as well, so you might be in an open plan office where, the amenity of a kitchen is there as well. So these are all of the things to kind of take into consideration when we're looking at a building first. So the next thing is, and I'm going to keep asking you to ask yourself this question, is how does my customer feel right now? So when we've sorted out the outside of the building and we've sorted out all of the signage and we feel like everything is appropriate, we've adequate windows, space in the windows to do our displays or not, then we need to start looking at the interior side of things. So we have wall finishes, colors, textures, wallpapers, furniture, tables, chairs, floors, rugs. Is there toilets that you can offer your customer? Are they regulation? Because most of the wheelchair accessibility now also needs to be taken into consideration. So when you're making out your floor plan, making a list of what do you need that space to do for you, and then you can come back to your fixtures and your fittings and everything. Everything you need going forward when you know your brand and your customer, the easier it will become. So the more confident you are in the fact that you know your customer and you know who you are as a brand, the easier designing becomes. You have to keep asking yourself, is this what I want my customer to experience? Is this on brand for us? In the simple fact, if we are black and gold and we're putting up something on social media that's a pink or an orange, is it on brand for us, or is it something to do with promotional at that time? But making sure that the colors, the content you're putting up is always on brand. Then with regards to lighting is a massive part of design, and people always underestimate it, or they rarely think of it, and they just kind of go, oh, whatever, we'll just put up. It's a lot more detailed than that, and I will go into that a little bit later. So ensuring the spaces, whether it's a co-working space, whether it's offices, whether it's a dental surgery, whether it's an optician's, whatever it is, the lighting needs to be taken into consideration. You have to take into consideration the natural light coming into the room, and then making sure that it's not too bright or too dark. Then we've got the climate as well. So these are all, as you can see, the lighting, climate, security, sound and smell are all about engaging our customers' senses and making sure that we're kind of looking after those. So the climate, is it hot? Is it too hot or too cold? Will this automatically put people off if a space it's baking hot and they can't relax? Security. So on a sunny day, is the door left open? Is this going to be an issue for reasons of security? So we need to look at that. Or do we have, hot air blowing in on a freezing cold day, in the middle of winter? Sound. So more often than not, we'll go into shops, we can hear things playing, but is it appropriate? Is this what you want your customer to listen to? Is this, is this on brand for you, for what you're doing, for what you're selling, for what you're trying to cater for? Smell. So sometimes, if you're lucky enough to own a gift shop, you probably have beautiful candles and incense and things like that. But on the flip side, if we're working, in an office environment, we need to make sure that, smells aren't an issue. And if they are, they're a good issue. So I'll just go on to the next slide there for you. So what is branding really? So branding, all of these things will also need to be taken into consideration when you can kind of see a bigger picture. This is where you really need to start. You need to know your logo variations, your color palette. This will make sure that everything is on brand for you, whether you're posting on social media or you're sending a letter in the post, that all of these things have the same things, or have the same consistency throughout. So you've got your typefaces, you've got that tone of voice and how you're actually saying something across all of these mediums. Then you've got the image and content style. So maybe if you're posting photographs and that sort of thing. Then we'd have a library of graphical elements that you could use then throughout social media content. And then you'll have a style and a brand guideline as well. So then once you have all of these in place, then you can know what kind of a signage we need, what's going to suit our logo, what kind of decals or vinyls can we do on the windows, what's going to suit. Is that on brand for us? Is it within our color remit, on our guidelines? So as I said, the more information you can get together at the very, very start, the easier things will become as the process moves along. So then when you're naming it, this is always a funny one. We get to name a lot actually in Urban Design Studio, and sometimes it's easier when you're not directly involved in a business. So making it memorable, making it easy to pronounce. I can't underestimate that, because if people are saying different words, again, there's no consistency. You're losing that tone of voice throughout the branding. It should be easy to spell in a single way. So again, this all comes back down to www. You need to be able to spell it with the least amount of hyphens, the least amount of punctuation marks as possible. And then ensure that you can obviously get your .com or your .ie before you even start that process. Okay, so kind of now onto the actual interiors part. So this is all about the impact of color. I have to say this is one of the things that I love the most about design, and I appreciate, and I'm quite surprised actually that people don't know the psychology behind color. So I'm just going to give you a small insight today, and I hope you enjoy it. So this is the color wheel. Everybody knows the color wheel. So we have all the different types that we're used to seeing. So you've got your split complementary, you've got your square, you've got your secondary, you've got your complementary. So with all of these things, if you're ever unsure as to what goes on, just go back to the color wheel. Like, let it show you the natural realms of what goes and what doesn't go. So if you think, oh, I'm not good with colors, go back and let the color wheel help you. It doesn't mean that you have to take them in these bright tones. You can do, as down at the bottom here and on the bottom left of your screen, you can see the hue, the tint, and the shade. These are also massive considerations to put in, but it's always good to go back and see, okay, I'm looking for 3 colors, I'm looking for 4 colors, I'm looking for 5 colors. Where do I go? Go back to the color wheel and get your help from there. The next one then is all of the different colors, and just to give you kind of like a small insight into why we choose colors. So again, this goes back to your customer. If they're buying, if you say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy a box of chocolates, most of us will say, oh, I bet you it's purple, or that's certainly the color that will come to mind, because it's the repetition of, say, a brand like Cadbury's over and over and over again. So taking color into consideration when you're designing your brand and your logo and your interiors and your signage and everything is absolutely vital, because it will actually have a massive psychological effect. You can use too much of the right color and it will start to have a negative effect, and it'll be the same with darker color. All of those, too much of anything, again, will have a negative effect. So red would be considered the warmest and the most contradictory of colors. In fact, this is a fiery hue and has opposing emotional associations with any other color. Red is linked to passion and love, as well as power and rage. So when you can see what they mean, or the effects psychologically that they'll have on our brain, then you automatically become aware of, oh, okay, well, what tone of voice do I want? What colors do I want? What are people expecting to see from me? So I've put all of the colors in there. I don't want to bore you too much, because I'm actually going to go through the 3 primary colors just to kind of give people a good in-depth. I'm just going to touch on black, because black is a symbolic and mystery of power, elegance, and sophistication. Too much black can also evoke emotions such as sadness or anger. I'll just bring you to the likes of Joe Malone or Brian Thomas right now. And there is a specific reason both of those will use touches of black. So black is always associated with higher end products. It has kind of an air of sophistication, and a lot of the bigger, more expensive brands will try to always incorporate that in. So I'll just try to give you a few examples as we go along. Even there with the orange as well. Orange, like you can think of your Aldis and your Lidls, but just while you're thinking of the colors that they use in their logo, just have a quick read of the colors and then you can see why. So yellow. Yellow is commonly seen at traffic crossings and signs, smiley faces, and window fronts and displays. Yellow is the epitome of joy, happiness, cheerfulness, optimism, you name it. Anything happy is always yellow. The wavelength of yellow is particularly long, making it have one of the most powerful psychological meaning, while also being the easiest color to visibly see. So fun fact, did you know that yellow was the first color that infants respond to? So it's good to know like that all of these little things, you know, even from when people are born, you know, there's a recognition there, there's a feeling there. So I can't underestimate when you're choosing your colors for your brand, definitely look at the psychology behind. So the psychology of blue, as I said, I'll just run through the three primary colors pretty quickly. Blue is commonly seen in hospitals, mental health premises, and predominantly financial institutions. So you can see the likes of Bank of Ireland, you've got Ulster Bank, they're all blue. Blue is really known with this kind of dependability, loyalty, and I suppose that's what they want to portray themselves as to you, unknowns to us. They've psychologically picked those colors so that we have an emotional response to that color. Then the last one again is red. So red is commonly seen stoplights, Valentine's Day, horror movies, and it raises our heart rate, causing a sense of urgency. And this is the reason that for sale signs are for red. So, you know, again, unknowns for ourselves, we'll see all of these posters in the windows and we'll be saying, oh my God, you know, I'll have to go in. So again, that all comes back to the fact that for sale signs are red for no other reason, only to raise our heartbeat, give us that sense of urgency, and go in and purchase. So these are just some of my own findings from back in 2019. I just wanted to see if it was actually closely linked to, you know, all of the claims about it. And to be honest, it was kind of a true reflection. Like a lot of people, you can see there, the most chose color was blue, 34%, followed by white and green. So again, it's the colors that people are used to seeing, like Tesco's is blue, Dependable, you know, Aldi is blue, Lidl is blue. So again, like thinking about who's using what colors is actually really interesting. So I'm just going to jump quickly onto spatial planning. So as I always say, anyone can make something look nice, but does it function? So functionality has to come first. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to map out our office amenities and shared workspaces. So what do you need the space to do for you? Whether it's going to be a retail shop, whether it's going to be a commercial office space, a dental surgery, you need to make out a list of what you need that space to do for you. Think about whether your company is going to grow or not. Is it going to get any bigger in the next 3 to 5 years? Do we need to plan for that? Consider how much space needs to be allotted per employee. Now, obviously, that has increased as well, just with the COVID guidelines as well at the moment. Identify which employees need a private workspace. So this is actually really important, especially for co-working spaces. I think it's vital that people have the opportunity to avail of, you know, the likes of meeting rooms, maybe a private kitchen, a podcast area, wherever you like, you know, because you in office environments, everyone has to take a private call at some time or another. So even incorporating in phone booths and that sort of thing to give that people the flexibility is brilliant. So identify what makes sense from a workflow perspective. So are you bringing in and out stock? Are you, you know, think about where does that need to be in relation to where it has to go. So making sure that there is a flow of work through whatever space that you are actually planning. This is an important one, to design each space individually. This will allow you to break down each section for design and budgetary reasons if needs be. So a lot of people will always say, oh my God, is it going to cost a fortune? There's always a way and means. So what I always tend to do is I will design something up in its totality, but each room or section will be designed individually as well. This is actually easier to roll out for me, and my team, and B, it's easier for the client themselves as well, because there's not that massive, interruption of work. So you give them a schedule of works and we'll roll it out, and then they can do it cost effective as well for themselves. So initially they mightn't have 30,000, they might have 10,000. So you might just do one section first. By designing each space individually as well, and make sure that you're asking yourself that question all the time: is this what my employee is going to feel like, hear, smell, all of those kind of things as well, and making sure that when you're designing each section, you keep asking your question: how is my customer feeling right now? So that, as I said, they're just like, keep asking, climate, lighting, security, sound, smell. The more of these things that you can take into consideration, the more comfortable your customer is going to be in the end of the day. And then when people are comfortable, they want to come back. So I've done just a very brief overview on say your standard retail, right? So the grid layout is one, I suppose, that we're probably almost aware of, which is the likes of your supermarkets, which I suppose we all go to a couple of times a week if you're anything like me anyway. So your store, the advantages, I suppose, of having a store like this is your store is well organized, it's efficient, and it leads to your customers being familiar with their surroundings, so they don't have to overthink it. They kind of go in, they get what they need, and they leave. It's easy. The maximum amount of floor space is used at a lower cost. So what they mean by that is more often than not, you will see big, huge stacks of the likes of Kellogg cereals or Coca-Cola sitting right in the middle of the aisle, and you're kind of saying, okay, I get that they're there, but I don't really understand why. Tesco's are more likely to be receiving more money for product placement there than they will from selling the products alone. So that's why a lot of people will go for this grid layout. But it's also good to know that that's why they're putting them there as well. They're trying to navigate you around it. They're trying to reinforce Coca-Cola's brand, because Coca-Cola have paid them to put the products there, or the likes of Kellogg's have paid it to put them there. So the disadvantages then would be, it gets a bit sterile, it gets a bit boring. We do get used to it. There are a few opportunities for special displays, and the layout, it can stimulate, because we're so used to going in and knowing where the milk is and knowing where the cheese is and knowing where the bananas are. I'm just going in and I'm just picking up those products, and I'm gone. I'm not educating my customer on newer products or things I need to sell. So this is the free flow layout. So this would be, more kind of closed shops, maybe a trendy grocery shop, as opposed to the standard bigger chain markets. So this allows the customer to browse and wander freely. So it feels less restrictive, so people can actually come and go as they want. They tend to spend more time in the shop when it's like this as well. There's an increase in impulse buying, because your customer is now exposed to much more of the product than they had been originally. Your store is visually appealing and has the opportunity to create unique and exciting displays. So again, this is why I was kind of saying it's more of a the quirkier shops would have this, and then they'd take advantage then of leading people in and around the stores and doing little displays as they go along. The disadvantage is you don't have as much floor space, the stock is harder to control, and then you do have a chance of confusing your customer a little bit as well, because there is an awful lot of stock going on at any one time. So the next one then, for those of you in an office, so the advantages, so I suppose there's two types of offices. I think these closed off offices are nearly a thing of the past, but can't be a thing of the past, because we all still need privacy, and we all need to have that space for ourselves as well. So but the advantages of going open plan, number one, better employee relations, because people actually get to know each other a little bit more on a more of a personal level. So there's definitely better communication. And then that leads into increased collaboration, which is brilliant for, co-working spaces, great for teams working in an open plan office as well, to kind of get together. They're a little bit more comfortable because they now know each other, on a more personal level as well. The health benefits. So there was a study done back in 2018 that people in open plan spaces actually move 20% more than people who literally have their own office. It's obviously cheaper to do. It's probably about 1/3 of the price to do an open plan as it is to, I suppose, putting up all of these walls. And there's greater flexibility from the space as well. So you, again, have asked yourself, what do I need the space to do? And then you're putting all of those into place so you can have your meeting rooms and you can have your collaboration spaces and your breakout zones in your kitchen. What are the disadvantages? So there is probably a risk of greater distraction. But I think with acoustics nowadays, and it's less of an issue. And again, like increased noise isolation. But I think, once we put acoustics in, or you've got your opportunities of your phone booths or your private meeting rooms, that's not really an issue either. Transmission of illness, I suppose it's like being in school. The more people that are around, the more people will get sick. Sometimes there's a feeling of lack of leadership, because with an open plan, you sort of leave the titles at the door. So there is no one coming in saying, well, I'm management and I'm, senior director or anything like that. So some people may feel a lack of direction, and then obviously a loss of privacy. And that depends on what type of business that you actually have. So the impact of lighting, again, as I said, the impact of lighting is one that I personally adore and think that people underestimate massively. And I think by putting in nice lights, it can transform a room completely. And I don't think it should be the last thing to be left on the list. I think it should nearly be one of the first. So the ambient lighting. So ambient lighting, I've made just a quick list at the side there. So to be your spots, your LEDs, other light fixtures taking into consideration, your natural light coming in, dependent lighting, your track lighting, recessed lighting, all of the things there that are in the photograph. So what I call ambient lighting is functional lighting. Can I go in there and complete a project of what I need to do? Is there enough light to do that? So that's the easiest way of describing ambient lighting. Okay, so you do need it. It's the most important one. The next one then is task lighting. So task lighting is more focused. So if I am paying at a cash register, the cash register is going to need just a little bit of extra light. If I am checking out of a hotel, more likely than not, there'll be extra lighting, additional lighting over the counter so people can, pay their bills. Lighting on desks, that's task lighting. So it's aiding you to do your task. Then we have accent lighting. So accent lighting is brilliant because it's what adds the mood. It's less garish. It's directional spots, hidden LEDs, and directional spots. You can see in the jewelry cases, they're all lit, but it's all hidden. So you don't have that bright, glarish look of bright, harsh looks, or lights, my apologies. Then you've got your decorative, which is also really important too, because it zones areas for you. So if you have a huge big area, you can change the floors in the different sections, or a better or easier way to do it is actually defining the zones by hanging your lights over those zones. So then you can see an example here of low end and high end. So low end, I have an example, I think, of Primark in the UK. I have TK Maxx, and I have a Tesco. If you look at the lights on the ceiling, they're simply functional. They don't really, they're not setting an atmosphere. They're not like really kind of telling any story. They kind of want you in, and they want you to shop, and they want you to go out. Whereas then you flick over to the high end, and it's all very moody and sexy and lovely, and it probably smells beautiful. Like I can even tell from the photographs. And that's the more high end. So these people are looking at who their customer is, what they expect when they go in there, and then does the price of the product match up with the experience that I have been given. So merchandising and displays, my apologies for anyone who's come on here just for the office spaces. I'll just go into merchandising and displays really quickly. So there's a few different types. You've got your single product display. So more often than not, you'd have a special offer. You know, it could be Christmas time. You might say, we'll put all the candles out, and keeping all of those products together. With the multiple, you're kind of looking more at selling an outfit in its entirety. So you're kind of grouping products together, what we call association buying. So if I go down to the fish section, I've gone through fruit and veg, and I go into the fish and I buy the fish, and then I'm saying, oh, I've no lemons. More often than not, Tesco's will have the lemons right next to the fish, and that's association buying. So they're making your life easy all of the time. And then you've got like thematic displays. So you all know it. Some people, you know, everyone knows like Brown Thomas for their Christmas windows. We all get excited. What are they going to do this year? That's a thematic display. They can be rolled out during summer, you know, so you're basically picking a theme, whether it's Christmas, summer, Easter, whatever it is. That's a thematic display. Zoning. So I'm going to just zip through this because I'm kind of aware of time and I have loads of information. So there's loads of different strategies for zoning. Products are, you know, as we go in, we all know it says home decor, or it will say tea, coffee, or frozen veg, you know what I mean? So making sure that if this is the kind of premises and retail shop that you have everything, you know, well signposted for people to get around. The best-selling product should always be placed in primary zones located towards the rear of the store, ensuring that shoppers will pass by secondary zones. So again, you're constantly trying to expose people to as many of these products as you possibly can. So more often than not, in the zoning strategies, it's really funny because, you know, we'll all go into the shop, you know, kind of day in, day out, and then all of a sudden you'll go in and go, oh, it's all changed. And you'll kind of get that, oh, well, I don't know what's going on. And they do that on purpose, again, to make sure that we're circling new products we haven't got used to going to the first place, getting what we need, and then leaving. What they've done is they flipped it, so we feel a bit uncomfortable, and then we don't know where we're going, and then we're automatically exposed to more product. So this is basically just a little bit more information on that. And then these are your impulse buys, which I spoke about, the likes in Pennies, where you've got your wrapping paper or your lip glosses or any of those kind of things. They're all your impulse buys. Signage. Can you see that? No, I didn't think so. And this is the problem with signage. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit about it, right? So you can all kind of give that a go there, try to read it. This is not cool, guys. It's totally unreadable, and nobody is going to bother squinting and struggling to hear whatever it is. Okay, so, you know, this is all about, we want to do the different fonts that you're using. So again, is it on brand? Is it going to be appropriate for signage? So only use a few different and stay consistent through those couple of fonts so that you'll build up your consistency and your recognition. You don't want to lose the effect of it. You don't want people to be squinting their eyes or struggling to try and read anything. Stay away from anything that's too intricate, too squiggly. And then, as you can see, Smith & Smith funeral directors down here, make sure it's appropriate. Like, that doesn't really look very appropriate for funeral directors. So again, it's like, is that what my customer is going to expect to see from me? Probably not if I'm selling coffins. So signage, why do we use signage? We use signage for a number of reasons, mainly to identify ourselves, make sure that people know where they're going and who we are, and that it's clearly stated. As I always say, Ireland's in darkness from October, for the winter, from about 4 o'clock onwards. So making sure that your building is lit up, that you know, people never stop shopping. So, you know, I would advise you keep on your lights until 1 o'clock in the morning and let them power off. But people driving through the city for no apparent reason might just come across you and be interested in your business. So just a quick one here on the types of outdoor signage. So it can be as simple or elegant and expensive as you want it to be. Again, it goes back to what's my customer going to expect? What can I afford? And then, you know, is it what I want? So you've got your finger post, your sandwich boards, your light boxes, and all that kind of stuff, kind of thing. So do you need a finger post? You know, unless you're near a roundabout, you probably don't. So, but just making a list of all of those kind of things in your head. The next one then is the directional signage, which is vital for open plan offices, co-working spaces, doctor surgeries that are in, you know, a multi used business facility. You know, making sure that when people come in, that they feel relaxed straight away. People need to know whether they need to go to the bathroom or not. They like to know where it is, especially if they're arriving in somewhere with children. But the less questions people have to ask, the more comfortable they become straight away. So who does it well? Sorry, who does it well? Abercrombie and Fitch, you're probably all aware of these. Now, while I go through these few slides, I'll just ask you to have a think about who you think their customer is and just see, is it as evident to you? And have a think then about your customer. Okay, so consistency through all of their signage there, outdoor, whether they're in a shopping mall or on a main street. Okay, so consistency in their advertising. So they're selling that dream, you know, that beautiful lit up truck on the side of the beach, arm around the girlfriend. It's all very. And then we've got the, you know, your branding. So you've got your bags, your indoor graphics, and your tags on your shirts and jumpers. Then you're going to the interiors. So you're like, okay, it's very dark, it's a little bit moody, you know, big chandeliers. And then you've got your product displays. So you've got your, you know, your table stacking, lovely colors. Very hard to see what kind of products they are because it is so darkly lit in there. So does anyone want to shout out and say who they think their customer or their target market is? No. So their target market is a college student who likes to party in nightclubs. So the Abercrombie and Fitch, their whole ethos behind their entire business was, this is our product and this is who we want to sell it to, and it is college students, Harvard students. So the whole inside of all of their shops is based on the Harvard library, and then bringing in that nightclub vibe by bringing in the big glamorous chandeliers. So this is how you do it well. So things to remember. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. My apologies. Sorry, guys. I don't know where I'm gone. Sorry.
You're grand, Katie. Take your time.
I don't know what is going on. My apologies. We're nearly there anyway. Just 2 minutes left. My apologies, guys. Sorry about this. I'm nearly there. Okay, So every point of contact needs to tell the same story. So whether I am inside looking at the tag on the shop, does it match what's over the door? So we've got to think about, you know, is it the same as the bag that it's going in when it's leaving the shop, which is what other potential customers could be saying. Who is my customer and have I catered for them? Have I asked myself those questions all of the time? Is this on brand for us? Is this what I want to appear to my potential customer as? Is this how I want them to feel? So engage your customer's senses. Think about the smells, the lighting, how cold, how hot, the climate, the safety, the security. Have you taken all of those things into consideration? Because every interaction elicits emotion. That emotion triggers the response. So if you're doing all of those things right, then you're going to get the response that you're looking for through your design. Stay consistent. So keep telling that story, making sure that, again, everything is on brand. Humanize your brand. Don't forget to put your personality into it, because people buy from people, and don't forget that. And keep your promises to your customers. I know that was a lot, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a million.